Decimal place value charts, Common Core Standard MA 421A, extend whole number place value patterns, models, and notations to include decimals, which are fractions with denominators equal to multiples of 10. That's a lot of information, so let's get started. You should have your decimal place value template inserted into your right side notebook. You should also have your title, your learning goal, your what I know completed, right? So today's lesson is decimal place values. And again, let's make some place for my learning goals. And here is my decimal place value chart. And this is what we're going to start with today. Decimal place value chart. I'm going to write in a few examples here. And this is really what we're considering our work to be today. This is nothing complicated. It's not going to take us very long. We're just going to talk about how to read decimal numbers. So the first example I want to give you is 87,621.2. The second number I'm going to give you is 95.4. And then the third number is 2.01. I want you to be very careful about where you're writing those numbers. Please make sure your decimal point is in the correct place, you're using one box per digit, and that we're really in the appropriate place value area, correct? So let's move on to numbers 1, 2, and 3. And we can rewrite those numbers down here for ourselves. 87,621 and 2/10, 95 and 4/10, 2 and 6/100. And we're going to practice writing these numbers out in words, in complete real word notation. And I'm just going to spread this out a little bit because I realize we may need more room than I allowed. So the first number is 87,621 and 2/10. 2/10. The title of the decimal form, the last word that is going to be written out in any decimal notation number, is wherever the last digit falls. So let's look at that. This number specifically is written out 87,000 or thousands, 600 21 and 2/10 with a THS. Remember, in the last video we talked about never ever ever use and, because and represents a decimal point. So you have to make sure you're absolutely inserting and in these examples, wherever your decimal is. So the next number is 95 and 4/10. So we write that out. 95 and 4/10. Lastly, we have the number 2 and 6. Now that 6 is not in the tenths place, it is in the hundredths place. So I need to name it as such, 6/100, right? Now that's very interesting because there's a 0 in front of that 6 in the 10ths place, but we don't count that 0. We are counting the 6 in the 100ths place. If, for example, that number was not a 0, it was a 1, we would say 2 and 16 hundredths, right? We would read it just like that. So that is kind of an interesting example for us to look at. So as I mentioned, this lecture is very quick. It's very short. You are going to be practicing reading decimal numbers in full words and writing them out shortly. You may have a mini quiz on this very soon, so please make sure that this is completely something that you are understanding. So your right side of your notebook should look like this. Don't forget to fill in your what I learned, but also your proof. Express those two values in word form. These are decimal points, so please make sure that you are accounting for those. And remember to do your thoughtful and creative reflection on today's lecture.